It is 2 a.m. on January 11, 2026. Just hours ago, Russia unleashed a massive wave of drones and missiles, including the terrifying new hypersonic Oreshnik, targeting the city's power grid. The lights are out. But in the freezing darkness, Ukraine isn't mourning, it is loading a magazine. At a secret airfield near the border, the engines of the AN-196 Liutyi scream to life. This is the weapon of choice, 14-foot drone carrying a 165-pound high-explosive warhead with a range of over 1,200 miles. At just $200,000 per unit, it is the Tomahawk for the poor, but it possesses a hybrid guidance system that makes it smarter than its price tag suggests. On paper, flying a drone into Russia airspace is suicide. But the Ukrainian mission commander, looking at the blinking lights of the Russian defense grid, cracks a tired smile. They built a wall to stop missiles, but Ukraine has found a way to dig a tunnel right underneath it. Buckle up. Putin hit Kyiv with darkness, and tonight, Ukraine's revenge is going to rock Moscow. 3 a.m. The operation begins in silence, but as the swarm crosses into Russian airspace, it splits into two very different realities. The 12 AN-196 Liutyi drones execute a pre-programmed divergence that is pure tactical genius. 4 of the units, modified Phantom variants, pitch their noses up and climb aggressively to 15,000 feet. These expendable drones are fitted with corner cube radar reflectors and high-intensity LED thermal emitters designed to scream for attention. To the long-range Russian search radar scanning the dark skies, these 4 blips don't look like cheap fiberglass drones. They look like a flight of heavy bombers violating sovereign airspace. They are the magician's left hand, waving a bright handkerchief to draw the eye. Meanwhile, the magician's right hand is holding the dagger. The 8 real AN-196 strike drones drop to a terrifying altitude of just under 150 feet, disappearing into the ground clutter. They aren't flying in a straight line, they are surfing the terrain. They hug the frozen banks of the Volga River and shadow the unlit highways leading to the capital, using the heavy winter snowfall to mask their thermal signatures against the cold ground. In the command bunker hundreds of miles away, the Ukrainian operator wipes sweat from his palms even though the room is freezing. He is fighting the controls, making micro adjustments to keep the drones from clipping the treetops flying by at 150 miles per hour. It is a high-wire act with zero safety net. 1 unnoticed power line, 1 tall pine tree, or 1 glitch in the altitude hold, and the whole mission is toast. 3:05 a.m. as the high-altitude Phantom swarm crosses the invisible line into the Moscow defense ring, the S-400's massive 92N6E Big Bird radar finally gets the meal it has been hungry for. The screen lights up with multiple solid contacts, and the Russian air defense network reacts with practiced aggression. Inside the command centers, the mood is borderline arrogant. To them, this looks like another clumsy drone raid, serving up easy target practice for the world's most advanced interceptors. The response is spectacular. The Pantsir S-1 systems, mounted on specially built steel towers around the city, spin their turrets. Utilizing the new TKB-1055 mini-missiles designed specifically to counter swarms, they unleash a barrage of fire into the night sky. The interceptors tear through the clouds, hunting the bright radar reflections of the decoys. One by one, the phantoms are obliterated, turning into expanding fireballs that rain burning debris down onto the snowy streets of the Moscow suburbs. The Russian crews cheer, convinced that Fortress Moscow has held firm. They broadcast the all-clear signal, believing the threat has been neutralized. But they are celebrating a lie. While the sky above is filled with the smoke of the decoys, the 8 real AN-196 Liutyi drones are untouched. They have slipped underneath the radar horizon, entering the urban canyon. By flying at 150 feet, they are physically shielded by the high-rise apartment blocks and industrial complexes of the outer city. The Tor M2 and Buk M3 batteries scanning the area are blind to them. Their radars cannot see through concrete and steel. The real attack hasn't even started yet, and the Russians have already wasted their best ammo on a magic trick. 03:08 a.m. As the surviving swarm pushes deeper into the Moscow metropolis, the electronic warfare environment turns toxic. The Russians activate the massive Krasuka 4 jamming stations, flooding the city with enough radio frequency noise to sever any satellite connection. Under normal circumstances, this would blind the drones and send them crashing into the nearest high-rise. But the AN-196 Liutyi is ready for this. The moment the GPS signal fades, the onboard computers switch instantly to pure inertial mode. They stop listening for external commands and start flying on math and memory, navigating via a pre-mapped internal gyroscope that no jammer can touch. The drones drop even lower, weaving through the urban canyon, the blind spots created by Moscow's dense skyline. This is where the tactical disparity becomes humiliating. The Russian air defense network is designed to fight a conventional war against NATO jets. It is like trying to play whack-a-mole with $1 million sledgehammer, only to realize the moles are running underneath the floorboards. The Pantsir towers, which should be the last line of defense, are silent. They just expended their ready racks of 48 mini missiles, killing the decoys and reloading them in the freezing cold is a slow, clumsy process. Meanwhile, the Tor M2 and Buk M3 batteries at street level are struggling. The heavy snowfall is masking the thermal signatures of the drones, effectively blinding their infrared sensors. The fortress has billion-dollar walls, but Ukraine has found the mouse hole and they are sprinting through it untouched. 03:10 a.m. The stealth run runs out of luck near the city center. A Pantsir S1 operator scanning the skyline visually spots a silhouette skimming over a rooftop. He doesn't wait for a radar lock, he fires manually. A missile streaks toward the formation, turning the night orange. In the bunker, the Ukrainian operator screams a warning, banking the targeted Liutyi hard to the right. It dives into the shadow of a massive residential tower just as the missile passes, detonating harmlessly against a concrete balcony. It was a matter of inches, but the noise wakes up the heavy hitters. Two MiG-29 fighters scrambled from the Moscow military district scream overhead with afterburners burning blue. Their N-019 radars burn through the ground clutter and achieve a hard lock on the drone swarm. The pilot's fingers hover over the triggers. The mission is seconds away from failure. That is when Ukraine plays its ace. The lead AN-196 Liutyi isn't carrying a warhead. It is carrying a survival kit. It suddenly ejects a chain flare sequence combined with a cloud of aluminized chaff and high-intensity LED strobe emitters. The sudden explosion of heat and radar reflection blinds the infrared seekers of the Pantsir missiles and breaks the radar lock of the MiGs. For 10 crucial seconds, the Russian sensors are staring into a wall of electronic fog. While the jets struggle to reacquire their targets through the countermeasures, the remaining 7 killer drones dive out of the sky. They aren't aiming for the Kremlin, they are aiming for the jugular of the defense grid itself, the Temp fuel depot. This facility holds millions of gallons of specialized fuel reserved for the backup generators of the S-400 and Pantsir batteries. Destroy it, and the entire air defense network loses its power redundancy. 03:12 a.m. The chaotic light show from the flares is fading, and the target is now directly ahead. The countdown to impact drops to 43 seconds. Through the nose camera of the lead strike drone, the massive storage tanks of the Temp fuel depot loom large, their white surfaces reflecting the city lights off the surrounding snow. It is a sitting duck, filled with millions of gallons of highly flammable liquid energy. Inside the Russian command center, confusion reigns. The radar screens are clearing up, but the picture makes no sense. The decoys are gone, the jammers report success, yet something is still out there. A Russian operator stares at his scope, his face pale. "Wait! Where are the rest?" he shouts, finally realizing the deception. He hits the general alarm, but the siren wail is agonizingly slow to wind up. High above, the MiG-29 pilots frantically try to circle back for a visual intercept, pulling G-forces that crush them into their seats, but the decoy flares have done their job. The fighters have overshot the engagement zone. They are too fast, too high, and too late. In the Ukrainian bunker, the only sound is the operator's heart hammering against his ribs. He watches the digital rangefinder tick down. 1,000 feet, 500 feet, 100 feet. The drone is committed. There is no abort code, no turning back. "This is it," he whispers to the silent room, "or we lose everything." The first AN-196 Liutyi slams into the roof of the primary storage tank. The 165-pound shaped charge doesn't just explode on contact, it punches a neat superheated hole through the reinforced steel plating. Inside, the delay fuse triggers a split second later. The result is catastrophic physics. The internal detonation generates a shockwave with 200 psi of overpressure, blowing the tank apart from the inside out like a balloon popping in a microwave. But that is just the opener. The remaining 7 drones follow the leader, striking the auxiliary pipelines and pumping stations in a rapid-fire sequence of destruction. A fireball erupts, climbing hundreds of feet into the Moscow night, turning the freezing darkness into a blinding noon. It is a thermobaric nightmare. Imagine 3 city buses filled with gasoline dropping from the sky and detonating simultaneously. That is the energy release we are talking about. The shockwave shatters windows for miles, and the heat is intense enough to melt the asphalt on the ring road. Down on the street, chaos reigns. The sirens of the Moscow military district are finally wailing over the roar of the flames. Elements of the elite 27th Separate Motorized Rifle Brigade scramble to the scene, their BTR-82A armored personnel carriers skidding on the icy roads, searchlights cutting frantically through the smoke. Russian soldiers spill out, gripping their AK-12 rifles and shouldering Verba manpads, screaming orders into their radios. But who are they going to shoot? The drones are already gone, replaced by an inferno. In a fit of desperate confusion, some soldiers actually fire their weapons at falling debris, trying to kill the fire with bullets. They set up roadblocks and perimeter defenses, shivering in the snow, sweating from the heat of the blaze, realizing that their billion-dollar equipment is useless against a threat that has already completed its mission. The smoke rising over Moscow signals a massive strategic failure. This wasn't just a random arson attack, it was a surgical lobotomy. The Temp depot supplied the reserve fuel for the backup generators powering the S-400 and Pantsir batteries ringing the capital. Intelligence estimates indicate that 15–20% of the strategic fuel reserve for Moscow's air defense grid just went up in smoke. Without that fuel, the Fortress Moscow shield loses its redundancy. If the main power grid fluctuates, which it often does in winter, those radar systems go dark. Ukraine didn't just burn some gas, they degraded the efficiency of the capital's defense by 30–40%. They punched a hole in the armor using a drone that costs less than a Moscow apartment. Ukraine just proved that creativity beats budget and audacity beats armor. If you think this was wild, just wait. What's the next target? Another depot? Or maybe a drone landing on the Kremlin rooftop just to deliver a pizza? Let me know your predictions in the comments below. Smash that like button if you enjoyed watching the underdog bite back.